Hey y'all, hey, and welcome to John Conclusions with me, Christina B. I'm here with a murder mystery and a masterpiece. Today we have a story that has not one, but two survivors. It's still a horrible case, but at least the victims lived to tell the tale. Let's discuss. It's Tika Adams was 29 and 7.5 months pregnant in December of 2009. She described herself as very rebellious. Nearly a year before our story takes place, she was homeless and kind of struggling. So she moved into a homeless shelter where she would meet her soon to be husband and baby daddy, PJ. The two of them had both fell on hard times, had different issues going on, but they fell in love and decided that they were going to improve their lives together. Got married, began working on doing things differently, and in the midst of that, Tika becomes pregnant. So now we fast forward back to where our story takes place. Tika is, as I said, 7.5 months pregnant, and she receives a call from this woman named Stephanie. Now, Stephanie calls Tika and tells her that she works for this agency that aims to take care of homeless pregnant women, providing them with the different supplies that they would need to be able to take care of their children that they won't be able to get, due to their circumstances of being homeless without jobs, what have you. Stephanie tells Tika about this warehouse that the agency has that is just stocked full of baby supplies. They have baby clothes, cribs, diapers, um, bottles, playpens, anything that you're going to need for a baby, they have it at this warehouse. And Stephanie tells Tika that, since it's been found that she has need, that she will be able to actually go into this warehouse and pick out the things that she wants for her child. Now, Tika feels that this call from Stephanie is a blessing in disguise. She had been worried about how she was going to get everything that she needed for the baby, and Stephanie calling just made her entire pregnancy. Now she's going to be able to give her daughter some cute clothes, and on top of that, be able to provide the crib and everything else that she needed. So, of course, she excitedly went to her husband and told him, like, hey, babe, this woman is going to help us out. We're about to be set. We don't have to worry about any of the baby stuff anymore. But PJ is suspicious of this. Like, why would this woman randomly call you, telling you that she has stuff for you? We didn't apply for any assistance with anything. How would she get your phone number? To PJ, it wasn't making sense. It didn't add up. And he felt that it was something to it. But Tika was so excited. She felt like this was just such a blessing. God had sent this woman out of nowhere to be able to help her provide for her child. So she was like, I'm going to just go, because I'm in need. So it's like, risk be damned. I'm going to do this for my baby. So Tika called Stephanie back and she's like, yeah, girl, like if you can help me, I need the help. How do we get to the warehouse? And so Stephanie's like, well, I'll come pick you up and we can go to the warehouse together. You can pick out everything that you need. It'll be great. So Tika agrees. So on the agreed upon day, Stephanie comes and picks Tika up to take her to the warehouse. While they're riding, Stephanie starts to ask Tika about her life. And some of the questions get pretty personal. But Tika answers, telling her about the troubles that she's had in life and how she wound up being in a homeless shelter. She also tells her about how her and PJ are working to turn their lives around, how she's so excited to be a mom, and that how this looks like and feels like a new beginning for her. And she's just so excited to embark on this new journey. Somehow, the pair end up at Stephanie's apartment. Now, I'm not sure exactly what Stephanie said or what her justification was, for stopping at her apartment, but they do. And the two go inside, and Stephanie offers Tika something to eat. They sit down in the living room, and Stephanie puts on a movie. Now, while they're sitting there watching this movie, Tika gets a call from PJ. He was already suspicious of this lady coming to take his pregnant wife off somewhere. So he was just calling to check in to make sure everything was going okay. And Tika told him it was. She told him they were on their way to the warehouse, but she didn't disclose to him that, they had stopped at Stephanie's apartment or anything like that. She just told him, everything was good, everything was on track, and they were making their way to the warehouse. They got off the phone with PJ feeling a little bit better about things, but Tika now was secretly worried. She was noticing that the situation was unorthodox and that Stephanie was acting strange. And also, they were going to this warehouse. Why had they been at Stephanie's home for so long? Things were not making sense and adding up to her. And she was finally putting the pieces together that something wasn't quite right. But she still didn't feel like she was in any danger just yet. She was thinking maybe this lady is just weird. Maybe she's lonely, doesn't have anybody to talk to. And I just have to deal with her little bit of weirdness, for a few hours in order to get the things that my baby needs. So though she was now a little skeptical and worried, she didn't feel like she was in any danger at this point. So after the movie ends, and yes, Stephanie made Tika sit there and watch an entire movie, Stephanie just gets up and puts another movie on. Which, of course, is now a serious red flag for Tika, because what are you doing and when are we going to the warehouse? But before she could say anything or think anything more of it, a blanket is thrown over Tika's head and she is hit over the head multiple times. Tika is in pain. She's bleeding profusely from the head, but she's still trying to get away from Stephanie. She runs to the door, frantic, but finds that it's locked with 3 different types of locks. And she's so disoriented in her current state that she's not able to get them unlocked fast enough. And Stephanie runs over to the door and attempts to drag her back into the living room. The two women begin fighting. Tika's fighting for her life, and Stephanie is fighting to control the situation. Somehow, Stephanie gets a hold of a fire poker from the fireplace and begins to hit Tika with it. She hits her with this fire poker over 40 times. At some point during this attack with the fire poker, Tika loses consciousness. While she's passed out, Stephanie ties Tika up, gags her, and drags her to the kitchen, where she leaves her laying on the floor. Stephanie kept Tika in her apartment for 4 days. She used multiple knives and a box cutter to slash at Tika's stomach, attempting to remove her unborn child. I was shaking and sweating because the pain was so excruciating that it got to a point where I just couldn't feel it anymore, Tika said of the attack. Stephanie not only cut her, but also dug into her body and ripped her apart with her hands. During the entire 4-day attack, Stephanie had Michael Jackson's movie, This Is It, playing in the background. Anytime the movie got past a performance, she would rewind it to be able to rewatch that performance and just continue on slicing away at Tika's body. During this time, Stephanie was never actually able to access the baby, and eventually she just gave up. Amazingly, Tika remained conscious for most of this 4-day ordeal. She said that she willed herself to stay awake as much as possible because she didn't know what this woman was going to do. Even at times when Stephanie would go to sleep or leave the room where Tika was, she would still force herself to stay awake so she could watch her and know exactly what was going on. The only time that Tika got any rest during this entire 4 days is when she would pass out from shock or blood loss. At the end of the fourth day, Stephanie began freaking out that her son, a teenager, would soon be coming home. And being that he's a teenager, of course, he's old enough to see what's going on and know, that his mom is attacking and brutally torturing this woman. So she didn't want him to see. She started to clean up the scene. Blood was splattered all over the floor and walls. While Stephanie was frantically cleaning, Tika passed out again. When Tika woke up this time, she was in a different room laying on a bed. Stephanie was also in the same room, but she was laying on the floor in front of the door, asleep. Tika felt like this was the last chance that she was going to have to get out of this apartment alive. She took all the strength that she could muster and got herself up off of the bed. She makes it past Stephanie without smudging on the canvas, just messing up my stuff. Anyway, she makes it to the bedroom door without waking Stephanie up, and she makes it to the front door, where she's able to get all three locks unlocked and get out of the apartment before Stephanie wakes up. She's running down the hall, yelling, banging on people's doors, trying to get somebody, anybody, to come outside and see what's going on. As she continues on her search for help in this apartment complex, here comes Stephanie ready to drag her back into the apartment. As the two women are fighting each other, and Tika is screaming for her life, a man finally peeks his head out of his apartment to see what's going on. Stephanie goes right back into character, telling the man that she works for this agency and that Tika is crazy and she's just trying to restrain her. Tika, on the other hand, is yelling at the man, telling him that Stephanie is crazy and trying to kill her. The man, of course, looks shocked and confused. He doesn't know who to believe, what to believe, or what's going on. Tika then realizes that all of her claims of being attacked and cut can't be verified by this man because she has on a dark blue shirt and is hiding all of the blood and whatnot. So in her desperation, she lifts up her shirt where the man can see that her guts are hanging out. He screams and runs back into his apartment, yelling that he's calling the police. Stephanie gives up and leaves Tika to wait for the paramedics. When the paramedics got there, they were amazed by the state that Tika was in. Some of them even became nauseated. They rushed her to the hospital where she went into an emergency C-section in order to deliver the baby. She also had to have surgery. Thankfully, both Tika and her unborn child survived, and she names her baby girl Miracle. During the attack, Tika's bladder and her abdominal muscles were cut and destroyed. She couldn't walk for some time and had to strengthen the muscles in her stomach before she was able to do much of anything, even see her daughter. When Tika's attack reached the media, she received an outpouring of love and support. She received baby supplies and dozens of cards and gifts. She said that her hospital room was overflowing. Stephanie was arrested not long after Tika was rushed to the hospital, and surprise, surprise, her real name is not Stephanie. It was found that Stephanie's name was actually Veronica Deramos. Veronica, better known as Stephanie, pled guilty to first-degree assault and was sentenced to 25 years in prison. While in court, Veronica alleged that Tika had agreed to sell her baby to her for $5,000. Tika, of course, vehemently denied this, and the allegation spurred a physical response from Tika, who lunged at Veronica while in court. But of course, with all of the security guards, court cops, or whatever they're called that are in there, she wasn't able to get close enough to Stephanie or Veronica to actually touch her or do anything to her. I survived because I was coming to a point in my life where I started to love myself and respect myself and cherish my life. I survived because of God and my support system. I know a lot of people love me, and I know that God loves me. And like they say, God looks out for babies and fools. And I had a baby, and I was a fool. Tika Adams. Our masterpiece today is a portrait of a mother and a baby. Please forgive all my smudges. I was lazy and had my hand down on the canvas. But thank you all for joining me today. Please like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and talk shit if you got to. I love you. Be great, be you. I'll see you soon.